You're listening to The Dating Den with dating and relationship badass and best-selling author Marni Batista. Every week, you'll get the raw truth from top experts and real people on the important dating, sex, and relationship issues you want to know about. So if you're ready for true talk that's authentic and unfiltered, and you're not afraid to be called out on your stuff, then you're ready for what's next.
The Dating Den with Bevin. How to stop putting off the things that will make you the most fulfilled. Welcome, ladies, into the dating den, It's literally so cozy in here. And you're going to make fun of me if you live in like Chicago, because I'm saying it's cold and I live in California and I have a fire and I'm wearing a sweater. So don't mock me. Just appreciate. I used to live in the Exactly. Okay, I used to live in the Midwest. I understand your pain, but I'm just saying. I am so excited today to have Bevin Farrand in the Dating Den. She has a phenomenal story, and I have been really excited about this topic. For those of you who listened to my episode with Rabbi Steve Leder, we talked about the beauty of what remains and what death will teach you about life and living a meaningful life. And if I was doing a series, this would be the next episode in that series. For those of you who don't know Bevin, she's the founder and CEO of Collaborate.Work, which supports small businesses and entrepreneurs in developing and executing strategies to take their revenue to 6 and 7 figures. And in 2019, after her husband died very unexpectedly, 5 days after they returned from a whirlwind trip to France, she founded the Take the Damn Trip movement and her DAM framework, which I love the name. I want to come up with a fuck framework. Her DAM framework has inspired hundreds to connect with the people they love, do the crazy thing that makes all the difference, and when given a chance to take the damn trip. So I'm so happy you're here.
Thank you for having me. It's funny because you want to come up with a fuck framework, and then I go on other like mom podcasts and they're like, moms, put your earbuds in because we're going to say damn a lot in the next hour.
Oh my God. Yeah, no, I'm all about the quality fucks here. No pun intended.
I love it.
Well, first of all, when I saw the Take the Damn Trip brand, it just struck me because my dad passed away 2 years ago. My mom passed away 10 years ago. But one thing that my dad always told me, because I would call him and I'd be like, I don't know, should I go on this trip? Should I do this thing? It's like so much and I really should do it. It's kind of responsible. And he said, let me tell you how many times we went on a family vacation and I totally couldn't afford it. Like it was the worst financial choice. And he said, and now that I'm like in my late 70s, literally, it doesn't matter. You can't take it with you when you're gone. Who cares? And so every time I think about stuff like that, I literally remember those words, like take the damn trip, like make the choice. It's the memories that matter. So will you tell everyone your story? Because I think it's so important.
Yeah. And so it is funny because it's not only about travel, which I'll explain, but so you touched on it, but yeah, in 2019, my husband told me he was going to take me on this trip to France for my 40th birthday. And we were literally going to be on the ground for 39 hours. The flights took the same amount of time because we had 2 young children. We had a 10-month-old and a 2.5-year-old. It was the first time we were going to be away from them, but he wanted to make my birthday special. And even the day before, I said, this is so crazy. Should we just cancel? Should we not go? Because, by the way, I had been laid off 5 months before.
Oh my God. And were you nursing or anything like that?
I was nursing. So he told me in May because he wanted me to be able to pump enough that we had to arrange childcare. Gave me plenty of notice. But so we went and it was amazing. And it was a way for us to reconnect to who we were before we were parents, even before we were married, to really just get back to the roots of our relationship because he was really my best friend. He was my biggest cheerleader. So this was amazing. And we got back and it was Thanksgiving week. So Mark had taken the whole week off. We were doing stuff around the house. We took our daughter to her first movie theater. We had an amazing Thanksgiving with our family and friends, which was always our favorite holiday. And then the day after Thanksgiving, he just didn't wake up. We had no idea he was sick. One of his arteries was 95% blocked. The other was 50% blocked. No, he weighed the same he did in high school. Like there was no indication. And so my world just got totally flipped upside down. I'm now, the solo parent of 2 young children, solo breadwinner, running a business, and without my best friend and my cheerleader. And so I posted about it about a month later. I just said, I love my birthday. So I was like, I never posted about my birthday this year because all of this happened.
Wow.
And I talked about the trip. And at the end, I said, look, when you're faced with a choice, just take the damn trip. Because thank God, I mean, Mark had his perfect last week. We had this epic trip. We were together. He wasn't working. And that to me has become my mission, and my message is that we need to choose to connect with the people that we love. We need to choose meaning and significance, and we need to just do the crazy thing. And so I looked back and I said, okay, well, of all the hard and great things that I've been through, I lost my house to a house fire in 2010. I lost my dad to cancer when I was 24. I've been through several rounds of IVF treatments to have my kids, but also the great things like have these kids,
Right.
and have this business that is thriving. And I thought, what are the mindsets that I do differently than other people? Maybe not better, but just differently. And that's how I came up with the DAM framework. So it actually stands for something. And also the questions that I ask people, which are the trip that I ask people about. So the DAM framework is decide and declare, attend your own party, meaningful moments, and now is the time. And so I do that with everything now. So my newest trip is that
Mark, for those of you who are listening, because you're not watching like I am, she did air quotes on trip. FYI.
I did air quotes.
She did air quotes. So it's her latest trip.
Right. So the part. So it's not, like I said, it's not always about travel. So the trip I'll ask people about is it your top priority, or will you make it your top priority? So it's the T. The R is, will you resource it? So will you give it your time, energy, money, focus? Is it inspiring? And is it personal? Is it your dream? And so my newest trip is that I've always been very open about the fact that we did IVF for my 2 kiddos. And we were about 60 days away from starting our 3rd round of IVF when Mark passed away. And so when that happened, it felt like one more dream that was stolen from me when he passed. And I didn't think that was fair. And so using those same questions for myself, I decided to move forward with IVF on my own. And so I'm now 18 weeks pregnant with the embryos that Mark and I had frozen. And I'm going to have another little kiddo in July. So
oh my
that to me,
gosh. Wait,
I didn't know that.
Wait, no, I remember when Christine's our podcast producer, told me about you. And I was like, oh, that's amazing, insane, amazing. Oh my God.
Totally crazy.
Yeah. So wait, so I don't know enough about IVF. So you and Mark, so it's you guys, it's bio, both of you.
Yeah. So when we went through several rounds, like I said, and before we had Guinevere, my daughter, who's 4, we did hyperstim and we got as many eggs and as many embryos as possible. And we froze them all. And so Jonathan was also from this same, my son, who's 2, is also from this same quote unquote batch. And Mark calls them twins, but boy, he's like, they're like twins. I'm like, yeah, just born 2 years apart. That's not really how twins work.
Oh my God, that's
they're
amazing.
From the same batch. So yeah, they're embryos that Mark and I had frozen. Yeah. So it's another little part of Mark for me.
Oh my God, I love this story. I just want to hug you. You're so cute. I wish you guys could see how cute she is too. This is I don't even know. That's just so amazing. So what I really want, I'm just kind of, I'm never speechless. Marni is never speechless. Well, what I think is so amazing is when you look at the concept or the construct of this trip, right? It's your dream.
Right.
What do you think? We're all about courage, right? We're shifting our forward-facing brand to the Institute for Living Courageously. And one of the things we do is help people date with dignity, right? We help them with dating. Yeah. I think courage is the thing, because when you talk about your trip, what do you think gets in the way of someone actually executing on it? And remind us all what the TRIP acronym stands for.
Okay, so TRIP is is it your top priority, or are you willing to make it your top priority? Which means you're going to have to say no to some things. But once you, and so this all feeds so well into the DAM framework, because once you decide what your top priority is and you decide and declare, which is the D, it becomes so much easier to say no to the things that are not in service of it, because we can have everything we want, just not all at once.
Yes.
And that even
Queen.
goes for dating,
Yeah.
right? Because I remember, but I didn't meet my husband until I was in my 30s. And I remember being single, living in Chicago in my 20s, and sitting on my couch one day thinking, I'm never going to meet anybody sitting on my couch. And I said, I really don't feel like going out tonight, so I guess I'm not going to meet anybody tonight. But it was a decision. It was like, I'm not sitting here thinking, oh, why am I not meeting anybody tonight? I had decided that my priority that night was rest. And so we have to decide and say what our top priority is. And I think that's a big thing that does get in the way of us following our dreams, is we confuse permission and support. And we go through our lives unconsciously asking people for permission to follow our dreams. And the way we do it is we say, I'm thinking of starting a business. What do you think? Or, I think I want to meet somebody. What do you think? And when you ask it that way, and you're asking it of somebody who cares about you, they're going to try it on for size for themselves and see how it feels. And if it's uncomfortable for them, they're going to start to eat away at it and be like, oh, I don't know, the economy, or, there's no good ones out there, whatever it is. And that's because you asked them for their permission. But we are grownups. We don't need permission slips. We're not trying to go to the museum with our class. We just need... So we can ask for support, but it's a different energy. The difference is when you've decided what it is that you want to go after, and you're asking somebody for support, if they aren't able to give you their support, you're still going to do it. It's not going to change your decision to go after it.
This is so brilliant. So my husband and I are going to be, we were supposed to be empty nesters this year, but then COVID happens. They all came back and now they're leaving. And we're trying to figure out what we want to be when we grow up, right? Like, what do we want to do? And I love my house so much. I put so much time and energy into making it exactly the way I want it. And also we're thinking that we want to go on a new adventure, right? And I was literally talking to my kids, and I didn't realize it until you said this. I was basically asking them for permission.
Yeah, we do it all the time.
Right? Because I'm like, so what would you think if we sold the house? And they were amazing, of course. They were like, oh, we'd be really sad, but also you should do your adventure and it's your life and all those things. But I wanted them to say it's okay, but also I'm kind of scared. So if they would have said, oh, Mom, it's our house. It's the only house we've ever really known, blah, blah, blah. I would have been like, oh, phew, I'm off the hook. So I just think that's so interesting about asking for permission. And in terms of dating, I really want to highlight what you said. The person you're asking is going to think how it impacts them. So when someone asks their girlfriend who's also single, right, or their mom who, maybe she lost her husband and now you're her best friend.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, are you sure? COVID, schmovid, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, it's so true. And I get it. I mean, when I started to tell people that I was pregnant, there are some people who were not excited. And so that's part of the declare part.
Okay.
Is you start with a small group of your A-team cheerleaders that you kind of express what it is that you want to do, because you want to build up some momentum of support, right? You don't need to go shout it from the rooftops right away. But then you start to increase it. I say, look, when you've got an idea that you're thinking about, it's like a newborn baby. There are some people I would not trust to watch my newborn baby for a weekend that I might trust with my toddler.
Right.
And so you want to get to a point where you can invite more people in to that circle. But I mean, dating is a tough one, because you think that people are like, they have your best interest at heart and they want the best for you. And they do, but they also subconsciously think about how it will impact them. And if you're there, like you said, if you're your mom's best friend and it's like, oh, but now you're not going to have time for me.
Yeah.
Then it eats into their response.
Totally. Okay, so you have to make it a priority. You have to
Hmm.
claim it. You have to give yourself permission. And
Yeah.
then okay, so that's the declare, and then what's the A for
So
damn?
A is attend your own party. And
What's
there's
that mean?
two
I
parts
like a
to that.
party. I like a party. So tell me. A small party.
Yeah, well, there's two parts to it. So it came up because I had a client years ago who was telling me about these two parties that she was invited to and in the same night. And she went to the first party and it was amazing and people were great. She was having great conversation, but she kept thinking about the second party that she needed to go to. When should I leave? Will it be as much fun? Who will be there? So she got to the second party and it was a dud. It
Oh,
was not
I hate
fun.
when that happens.
And she was living in Boston. She said, I didn't feel comfortable walking back by myself, but I didn't feel like I could take a cab. So I just didn't go back. And I told her, I said, well, you didn't attend either party because you
Yeah.
were up in your thoughts. So you were thinking about the second party when you were at the first, and you were thinking about the first party when you were at the second. So if instead you decided to stay very present in the moment and enjoy the first party to its fullest while you were there, and still make a decision if you wanted to go to the second one or not, at least you would have had the fun at the first party. And so, attend your own party is really staying present in the moment and understanding that we are creating our experience of life through our own thoughts.
Mm.
And when we realize that, and that our thoughts cause our feelings, not the other way around, when we realize that we're experiencing it through our own thoughts, then we realize we're creating our own suffering, we're creating our own joy. Our thoughts can change in an instant. And so then it becomes more, things become a little less serious. But when we lose sight of that, when we get into low consciousness and low awareness of the moment, our thoughts feel real. They
Yes.
feel tangible and they can feel painful.
This is so huge because, and I want to bring it back to this like declare that you want to find love thing, because I think
Yeah.
there's so many of the people who are listening that don't make it a priority, right? And
Yeah.
they don't give themselves permission. They're not, and this is huge, ladies. So listen, um, listen, turn it up. That when you are so in your head, right? Like the whole like, should I get off the couch? Should I not get off the couch? I don't know. Maybe I need to like lose 10 pounds before I actually try to start dating. Maybe I need to wait till this thing is finished at work. Maybe I'll wait till COVID is over. Maybe I'll wait till blah, 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 right? And then you're not present at work because you're like thinking about how everyone else has a plan for the weekend or you don't. And then you're
Yeah.
sitting on the couch and you're like, honestly, I thought I needed to just chill and watch this movie, but oh my God, I'm on Facebook and everyone's out having fun or whatever it is, right? You're not anywhere except in your
Right.
head. And so it's this, and this is my like mantra of the month, I think. Then you're not living your damn life.
Right.
And,
Right.
and I love that you said Mark had the best last week of his life
Yeah.
because he did all the things that matter. And by the way, she didn't say, and he was like worked so hard. And like his boss told him how awesome he was. And then he told me he made more money. Like, no, that is not how it went down. It was with the
Right.
people he care about. And that's what I want. That's why I'm being kind of emphatic about it, ladies, is like, what does meaning mean to you? And I think that and some rabbi leader said he's been a rabbi for 30 years. And he said one person in all the deathbed, he's attended over 1,000 deathbeds.
Yeah.
One person did say, I wish I would have worked more. One person did say that.
Yeah. That's
Maybe
it.
that's you. Maybe that's you. But the other 999 were like, I want more of Mark's last week.
Yeah. Well, and I think too, when it comes to dating and it comes to relationships, sometimes we feel foolish making it a priority, or we feel like,
Yeah.
oh, I can't tell people that that's my top priority because maybe that's not the right thing to go after. Well, that's all our thoughts too.
Yeah. Oh, that's
That's
so true.
all up in our head thinking. And it is also when we think about the decide and declare part is, so what is the goal, right? Especially, so Mark and I met on eHarmony.
Yay.
And so after I had my house fire, I came back to Ohio to spend some time with my mom. And while I was here, I said, I don't like, all my friends are married. I want to get out of the house. I'm just going to join eHarmony to at least like meet people. And my goal was to meet some great people. It wasn't that every single date I went on, I needed to turn into the one. And so that, to me, when I had that end goal in mind, was just really staying open to possibility with whoever I met. If I enjoyed a date, go again with that person. Mark and I we're inseparable very quickly and we were both kind of dating. And then we were like, yeah, but we really like each other. So we want to see each other 4 or 5 nights out of the week. And that was the goal. So then that also took all this pressure off of the dates that I was going on, because I was like, well, if this guy isn't the one, that's okay. I'm just dating till I find somebody I want to spend more time with.
I love that. That's
we got to be clear about what the end, like what's the real priority.
Well, right. And I think that is so huge. And it's about it's having the right mindset, like you said, right? Like if your goal is because I don't want to be the woman who lives my life on the couch wondering what if. I want to be a person who's like having an experience of going for my dream. And that means I'm just going to meet as many people as I can, because that way you're at least not on your couch, right?
And it makes you a more interesting person anyway. So then you're going to find people that are interesting and interested. And then and that actually leads really well into the M of the DAM framework, which is meaningful moments. And that is that we all want to be a part of something with significance and with meaning. We want that. We want our lives to mean something, but we also want our experiences to mean something. And I remember when I told one of my mentors that I was thinking about getting pregnant, and I said, but gosh, then am I going to have enough time to run my business and have these kids? And she said, well, do you want to be there for the minutes or the moments? And I was like, oh, the moments, 100%. And so when we choose meaning and choose significance over everything else, then we're connecting more with the people that we love, and we are enjoying their presence and our experiences together. And even if we're just still talking about dating, if we just said, look, I'm just going to make every interaction I have with a potential suitor fun and enjoyable and a moment that I can enjoy, then again, it's like at least you're enjoying the process, and then you're getting to know the people that spark your interest more.
And attend your own damn party, right? So when you're on the date with Brad, right? Like be on the date with Brad. Don't think about like, oh, maybe I should have gone out with Jeff, or Brad's not like my ex, who treated me like shit, but he was so hot and rich, or whatever it is. So, So when you're on the date, you have to be present in the date. You have to be present in the moment. Make a moment. You can make literally one of my worst dates in my life, which I probably told this story before, but I went on a date with this guy, and he we went to this restaurant thing, and we were sitting on like, those high tables, like a bar kind of table. Yeah. I find them so uncomfortable. Yeah. But anyway, it was small, whatever, we're ordering food. And he just is like, oh, I really have a great cat. Do you want to see a video of my cat? And I was like, okay, sure. Sure.
That's a weird question. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah. But I was like, all right, like, this is interesting, whatever. Anyway. And then he literally proceeded to show me probably about 20 videos of his cat, because his cat sits. His cat sits up. Like by choice, his cat sits up. And it was funny. Like the first 2 or 3 were funny. And then I was like, okay, clearly this guy is not my person. But what the fuck? Like, this is really an interesting dude. Like, he loves his cat. He thinks he's funny. And so I was just like, wow, forget dating. Like, I want to know. I am like so fascinated by you. Did you always love cats? Where did you get this cat? Did you teach the cat to do it? Like, have you thought about getting this cat on David Letterman? Like, it was like, whatever. And I was just like present. And it's probably one of the most fun I ever had on a date. Yeah. Because I didn't really care about like dating that guy, but I was like, this cat should be famous. Like, God, I hope his cat's on TikTok right now. If you know this guy and you see this cat on TikTok, let me know. Okay, so let's talk. So let's talk about. Okay, so we've got the D, we've got declare, we've got attend your party. What's the M?
So the M is meaningful moments, and then the N is now is the time.
Okay, let's talk about that. Yeah, what's at stake if you don't do that?
Well, So now really, so when this whole thing kind of blew up because the restaurant where Mark and I met closed down and I wanted the sign. He and I used to go back to the same restaurant every year on our anniversary. We would sit in
Aw.
the same seats. We wore the same clothes. We were the cheesy ones. We took the same selfie in front of this sign. And so when the restaurant closed down, I just happened to mention on Facebook that, hey, does anyone know the owners? And it blew up and people wanted to be a part of it because it had meaning and it had significance and there was no loser in this battle.
Right.
And so they wanted to donate to the sign fund. And I said, look, I thank you, but I sold these t-shirts. I decided I'm like, it's more important for me to get this message out there. And so I sold these t-shirts that says, we're not promised tomorrow, #take the damn trip. And that to me is just, it's the reality of it, whether we want to believe it or not. We don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, good or bad. I never imagined that Mark was going to pass away when he was 40. I never imagined that my house was going to burn down in 2010. And we never know. And so now is the time to go after your dream, at least to start to get into action on it. And so really the thing about getting into action is the hardest time is when you're at a standstill because of inertia. An object at rest tends to stay at rest.
Yeah.
And so my encouragement to people is to use what I call micro actions, which is the smallest possible action that you will actually take. And that when you do that and you set your timer for 15 minutes and you do 15 minutes of micro actions, you're starting to build momentum up. You're starting to get your feet moving and then momentum starts to take over. So I can imagine, I know for me, so Mark's been gone about 15 or 16 months now, and I am not dating. And that has a lot to do with COVID and the fact that I'm pregnant.
Yeah.
But I can imagine that when I start to think about it again, it will feel hard to get started because I will be at a standstill. And so if somebody's thinking like, I really want to meet somebody, I really want to do that, then it's the micro actions. It's tell your best friend that hey, I'd really like to go out on a date. Do you know anybody? It's sign up for a dating site. But it's the smallest thing that you'll actually do. So if it feels too big and you still feel paralyzed, make it smaller.
I love it. You could just join our Facebook group that we talk about stuff that happens in this podcast, and then I'll kick your ass from there. Just go to Facebook, just the Dating Den podcast. You're like, that's easy. You're like, I'm just joining this stupid Facebook group. Then I'll kick your ass. Just let me see you.
Yeah.
Okay. That's a great thing. So I want to ask you this because I think I was just talking to a woman who works with me and she enrolls people in our program and she's 62 and she didn't take action around dating until she was 57. And she was just telling me, and we have a lot of women that are reaching out to us now because of this show, right? Like women in their late 20s and early 30s who are podcast people. And our demographic used to be maybe the 40s or 50s, right? Because they found us in different ways. So she was like, it's breaking my heart because I'm talking to these women in their late 20s and early 30s. And they're like, oh, well, I have time, right? Like I would never invest this money in myself. I would never, whatever. And I met a woman years ago named Jody who lost her husband, Thor. She was pregnant with their third child. And he went to get rotator cuff surgery and he died in the surgery. And so she came to me with an infant and she was like, I can't stop living. Like I was so grateful for this time I had with Thor, and I realized that life is short and I don't know what's going to happen. So I better not just wait until my kids grow up to, have a life.
Yeah.
And she met this guy, Matthew, and now they're married and they have this, their kids are like freaking one's in high school now, I think. But what I'm sharing about this is like, so you met Mark. How old were you when you got off the couch?
I think I was 31 when we met.
Okay, so you had
we got married at 33.
Okay, so you had like 9 years, amazing years together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We did.
So
we met in 2011. So I think 8 or 9. Mm-hmm.
So if you were going to say something to that 30-year-old woman or late 20s who's like, I'll figure this shit out. Whatever. Like, yeah, maybe I attract unavailable men, or maybe I always like the guy who treats me like shit, or I don't think I'm good enough and it looks good on the outside, but nobody knows. And hopefully that'll sort itself out. What would you say to her, knowing what you know now about love and the preciousness of time?
Oh, that's such a good question. So before I met Mark, I I was listening to a series around like finding your soulmate, and it was a bunch of amazing speakers. And I just got what I learned about that was I needed to get really, really clear on what it is that I wanted. When we talk about, oh, I'm attracting people who treat me like crap. Well, I'm not sure you're really clear on what it is that you want at that point, because when I know what I want, then it's very clear when something doesn't fit into that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think I would say to my 20-ish year old self, first of all, I would say, like, make sure you're enjoying every minute of it, because even like I wouldn't trade it. Like, I'm glad I met Mark, because I'm glad I met Mark when I did. So I'm glad I wasn't married when I met Mark.
That would have been bad if you were on eHarmony, Bevin, and you were married.
I know. Well, I'm not convinced that there weren't some people I met that were married.
I will 100% agree with you. Okay.
But I think we just need to, so we talked about like living fully, going after the things that we really want, then makes you a more interesting person and makes you more attractive to the person that you're attracted to, because you are living fully. I always say it's really weird to me if you start dating somebody and they're super available, like all the time. You want to have space for dating, of course, but if it's like they don't have anything else going on in their life, you have to wonder why not. So I think continue to live very fully and always, always, always be open to the possibility of the person being there, of meeting the person and them being the one you want to spend more time with.
I love that.
Mark and I should not have been compatible. We were so opposite. He was an engineer. He was like super analytical. I'm a theater background with a degree in creative writing. I'm an extrovert. He's an introvert, but it just worked. It worked so well.
Well, yeah. And that's so interesting too, about like what you think your type is. And if your type is actually not making you happy, then getting clear on what is your type, and getting clear on why whatever you're doing isn't working, right? Because oh my God, I have this post in our Facebook group, shameless plug.
That you should join.
And I posted, what is one thing that scares the crap out of you about being in a relationship? And I've been talking about this post a lot, because I'll post stuff like, what do you like, positive things, right, about dating or love? And there's like 7 comments. This had like 50 comments. It's still, people are still commenting on it. And what I said to that community was like, you can tell me that you have clarity. Like, I know, Bevin, I want to find my partner. But then you're like, you have a list of 742 reasons why you're scared shitless about it. Doesn't matter how much you want it. All that fear is going to keep you in inertia.
Yeah. Well, and I also think we have to be honest with ourselves about what season we're in.
Yes.
I remember that's the attend your own party part, where it's like, if I wanted the same things now that I did when I was 21, I would be unhappy. And I remember I had this conversation with Mark. It was like our 3rd date. And he was like, I am a very, I can't remember exactly what he said, but basically like, I'm very good boyfriend material. I have a steady job, excellent health insurance, and
I love him.
A discount plan on my cell phone or something like that. Like, it was so hilarious the way he said it. And he's like, but I'm not the person who's going to jet off to France for a month. And I said, that's okay. I've already done that. I did that in my 20s. I traveled all around. I basically lived out of a suitcase. And I've done that. And what I was looking for then was a partner, a husband, somebody I wanted to raise children with. And so I was really clear about what season I was in at that time.
And that connects to the make it a priority, right?
Yeah.
Right. So if you're like, that's so huge.
I had to say, like, I knew I didn't want to be single my whole life. And so I was like, I'm going to make it a priority. I'm going to make the time and space, because just while I think it's weird if somebody is completely available 24/7. I also think if you don't make the time and space in your life to date and to get to know people, then no, you're not going to meet somebody great.
Yeah, totally. Like, this is my other favorite one. I love to mock my listeners because I'm in their brain. But they're like, it's such a waste of time. I'm like too busy for that shit. And I'm like, well, if you're too busy for that shit, then you're too busy to actually have a partnership or have a relationship, because actually it requires putting time in it. And not just when you're like in that inseparable, oh my God, I want to see you 5 times a week. Like you
Yeah.
said, you're in it like, however many, 9 years later, you've got 2 small children. You're like working your ass off. It takes time. You have to make the time. You have to pump ahead.
Right. To freeze, fill your freezer. Yes, no. And you have to, and you also, that's one of the things. So now I'm working on a book about called Take the Damn Trip. And
oh, good. I was hoping you were writing a book. I was like, this girl needs to be writing a book.
Originally, I was thinking it would be just about that weekend in France, but I thought about the fact that really the trip that Mark and I took was our relationship. And we always chose our relationship. And then we kind of made our life fit around that. I mean, so I worked for several companies where I had to travel. I would go to New York to do a studio shoot, and Mark would take his vacation days and he would come with me, and then he would bring our daughter so that we didn't all have to be separated, and they would explore throughout the city. And then at night we could have dinner and be together. Or even before we had kids, when I was pregnant, I was 4 months pregnant with Guinevere, and I produced an event in New York City, and he came with me to just make sure I ate and sat down enough, because he was willing to make our relationship a priority, and we were willing to do that together. Plus, we wanted to experience the things that were important to each other. So you have to be open to the fact that your life is going to change when you're in a relationship.
I'm so like, rewind, 30 seconds back, listen to that part again. No, really, because that's the thing. When I work with someone and then they actually get this relationship, they are like shocked how many things they had to shift and let go of, because their life was their very active single life. I go to yoga on Thursdays. I volunteer at, I teach at Weight Watchers because it's my like passion there. And I do this, and I'm in a running group, and I do this. And then they have this and they're like, oh, wait, my life was set up to reflect a single person. So what I always say is like, create the space as if you had the dude now, and put that time into dating so that then you have that foundation and the time, and then that's what your relationship will be like.
Yeah, because I'm not encouraging anybody to change who they are or give up all the things that they love. I think it's really important to still have yourself. And also, I have this group of girlfriends that's my book club, and I go see them at least once a month. When it's not COVID, we see each other more often. But that was something that was important. And that was something that Mark and I carved out. And he had his Brews and Bros guys that go nerd out here. And he was a huge Purdue fan. But, and then when we had kids, our life morphed a little bit more too. He was no longer able to watch football all day Saturday and all day Sunday. But we tried to make it so it was like, okay, well, this important game, we'll do this, and then we'll take the kids out after that. So it's all about, again, making the decision of what is your top priority, because every yes carries an implied no, and every no carries an implied yes. So when you say yes to being with somebody, you're saying no to the other people you're not going to be with. So when you're really, really clear about your yes, the no's become so much easier.
Oh, and hasn't COVID taught us that? Right? Like who are yes, what we really want to say yes to. Okay, so I have one more question to ask you, which is just because I have to ask you, because I love that you're pregnant with your third child. I have 3. I always call third baby optional, because, when I was growing up, I was like, I'm going to have 2 kids, and then I was like, wait, third baby is optional. I totally want the third baby. So I'm so happy for my baby 3.
Third baby was never optional for me. I always knew I wanted 3.
Okay, good. Third baby, the baby. I love it. Okay. So what is the best part of how it connects you to your priorities about being pregnant, even though Mark's not here physically to share it? Because you're going through pregnancy alone, and your husband died 18 months ago. It's not like it was 10 years ago. So when you
Right.
have those moments that I am sure are emotional, what's your why that connects back to sort of take this damn trip to have your baby and be a mom and bring someone else?
That's a good question. Nobody's ever asked me that before. So like I said, I've always really known that I wanted 3 kids. I'm the youngest of 4. I had told my mom I wanted 4 kids, and she's like, "That's a terrible idea." And I was like, "When would you have stopped?"
Oh my
I'm the
God.
4th.
Mom, I wasn't asking permission. I just wanted your support, but thanks.
But, I've always known that I wanted 3. I remember I studied abroad one semester in college, and was doodling pictures of me pregnant in overalls. And so I've always known that I wanted to be a mom. And what I've seen that's been really powerful over the past few years is that I've created my business in a way that allows me to be the mom that I want to be, because and this comes back to the meanings, or the minutes versus the moments. Like, I choose the moments. I don't work with clients between 3 and 4 because I go pick my daughter up from preschool. I do everything I can to put my kids to bed every night because it's my favorite time when they snuggle in with me to read stories. And so I have this business that, honestly, I had the best year I've ever had in 2020, even while grieving my husband, even during COVID, and even being able to have this life where I get to spend the time with my kids that I want to. And so I think that for me, yes, it's the decision to have a 3rd kid was easy. It was, to me, it never felt like not the best option. I knew that it would be the thing I would regret if I didn't do it. The execution was hard. I mean,
Yeah.
fertility treatments are not easy. They're no joke. I mean, there's a lot that goes into it. But so when I do feel like it's hard, that's really kind of a hard question, because even though the pregnancy can sometimes be hard, like I can be tired or my back can hurt, the greater picture of it is worth it. Even when I was pregnant with Jonathan, my second, and Mark was like, "Oh, you just feel so uncomfortable." I'm like, it's 9 months.
Right,
Right. And
right,
then I have
right.
this beautiful kid. So that, to me, has always been the way. But when you talk about,
Do you miss
like,
him?
kind
Like,
of
are
do,
there moments that you miss? Because like, you did this before with him that are emotionally hard?
oh,
Yeah. So,
oh, for sure. And that's what I was just going to say. First of all, COVID has made it very strange anyway, because partners can't go in for ultrasounds or tests or anything. So I have a friend who's going through IVF, and her husband sits in the car. And I think that would have been devastating for Mark, because he wanted to be there for the good and the bad moments. He wanted to be the one holding my hand if we got great news or if we got hard news.
yeah.
And that's back to that meaning. Like, those are the moments that you share. But what I did was, when I first started thinking about this, I talked to a couple of people. I talked to one of my sisters and to my mom. And then when I knew I was going to do it, I had this group of 3 girlfriends who I created a text chain with. And I was like, "Look, Mark would be the one cheering me on right now, and I don't have him. So I need you guys to be my cheerleaders."
Your
And so
squad. I love
we're
it.
my squad, 100%. So I would tell them, "Hey, I just got my blood test back and the numbers look great." And their only job was to cheer and to be happy. And they did such a good job. And
Yay.
so I found there's certainly no replacement for Mark. And as I said before we started recording, look, if I could go back and change and have Mark with me, I would, because I miss him, but that's not an option.
Yeah.
And so I knew that the support I needed was cheerleaders, and I asked for it. Instead of waiting and hoping that other people would offer it, I said, "This is what I need," and they showed up.
Oh my gosh, this is amazing. Well, ladies, I take the damn trip, whatever your trip is, whether it's a trippity trip. Don't even tell me we can't travel in COVID. I don't care. Like, take a trip to the mall. I don't know. Walk around it. Make it exciting. Do something that makes you feel like you're having the life that you want to live. I always say, like, don't settle for the backup life. If you
Oh,
like conditions, you're like, well, this isn't what I wanted, but this is what I got. I say bullshit, and I bet Bevin does too.
It's
Yeah.
true. Yeah, if you can't take a trip, and I get that. I mean, I had to cancel some trips too. But if I was like, "Okay, we want to go on this trip, but we can't," then make a weekend where you disconnect and you turn your phones off and you do fun things together and you make it an experience, because that's the thing about vacations and trips, is that it's an experience and it's in a container. So plan that and make that happen in your life and bring that meaning and those moments to life.
I love it. We can't take really big trips, like international trips. So I am having a COVID-friendly dinner party this weekend for 6 friends who are in our bubble, and it's around the world. And so everyone's going to bring something from a different country, and we're going to dress up like tourists because we're like going to make a meaningful moment. Like, we're making a meaningful moment because that's what's going to happen. And I've been wanting to do, like, this sounds really silly, but I value connection and lots of different things. And so it's been on my list to, like, it was on my goals. Like, I wanted to do a monthly theme dinner party. And then COVID happened and I was like, I don't want to do it on Zoom. And what I decided this year was that I was just going to set it up to where I could make something happen that felt safe to me in my little bubble. And so I'm kind of walking the talk and saying, I'm not gonna let the conditions, I'm going to figure out a way to do it in a way that's safe and work. So thank you for being here, Bevin. I'm so excited. Do you know if you're having a boy or a girl?
I'm having a girl. My daughter is so excited. And a little sister. She's like, and when she's born, I'm going to teach her how to talk. And I'm like, okay. Every day she says, little sister coming today. I said, no, not today, not till July.
Oh my God. And they'll be like 5 years apart.
So Guinevere will be 4.5 and Jonathan will be 2.5 when this one's born.
Oh my gosh. Amazing. Well, I have 3 daughters, so sisters, it's a good thing. You have 4 kids in your family.
4 girls, so I'm all about the sisters as well.
Yay! I love it. Well, you are all our sisters listening out there. Take the damn trip, whatever it is, love, work, whatever your priority is, and make it damn meaningful. Bevin, thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. It was an honor.
And ladies, when you do it with some damn dignity. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye. Hey, thanks for tuning into today's show. So if being in an intimate relationship in which you feel 100% seen, heard, and accepted by a high caliber man is a priority for you right now, and you're interested in seeing if you're a fit for working with me and my team at Dating with Dignity, here's what I want you to do. Just head over to DWD VIP, that's D as in dating, W, D as in dating, VIP.com, and book a call to speak with my team. We'll get on the phone with you for about 60 minutes and you'll get crystal clear on what's stopping you from finding true love right now. We'll also take a look at what you want to create, what you want your whole life to look like when you're able to finally be fully expressed as a woman in a healthy relationship with an incredible guy. And if we can help you get from where you are right now to where you want to be, we will show you the fastest path possible that makes sense for you to do that. We help smart, successful women all over the world solve this one missing piece in their life so they can finally have it all. So to see if we can help you do the same thing, head over to DWDVIP.com. I'm Marni Batista, and let's talk soon.